we're good.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Abled and Disabled.
Today we're talking about something that affects millions of people worldwide, but isn't talked about nearly enough. We're talking about PCOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome.
That's right. PCOS is a hormonal condition that impacts the ovaries and can lead to a variety of symptoms. Some people with PCOS experience irregular periods, difficulty getting pregnant, or even symptoms like excess hair growth or acne.
Yeah, and for something that affects about 1 in 10 women, it can feel really isolating when you're first diagnosed. Today we'll break down the symptoms, the causes, and also chat about some ways to manage it. Hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll feel more informed and less alone if you or someone you know is dealing with it.
Absolutely. So, Heather, what was your first introduction to PCOS? I know it's something that you've personally dealt with.
Yeah, so for me it started in my late teens. I was always having irregular periods and I thought it was normal at first, but when I started to notice other symptoms like acne and had more hair growth than usual, especially on my face, I began to wonder if something wasn't right. I remember going to the doctor and they mentioned PCOS, but it wasn't really explained to me in detail.
That's wild. I feel like a lot of people don't get the kind of thorough explanation from doctors, which is frustrating. For anyone listening who might not know, PCOS is actually a very common endocrine disorder. It's linked to an imbalance of hormones like insulin and androgens, which are male hormones that women have in smaller amounts. That imbalance is what leads to a lot of the symptoms.
Yeah, it's interesting because the exact cause of PCOS isn't fully understood yet. Some doctors think it could be genetic or that lifestyle factors like diet and exercise can play a role. But like you said, it's mostly the hormonal imbalance that messes with things. And it's not just about physical symptoms. There's also the mental and emotional toll it can take, like dealing with body image issues or the stress of trying to get pregnant, if that's a goal.
For sure. I think that's something people don't always talk about. There's this stereotype around PCOS being just about weight or acne, but it can affect so much more. It can be mentally exhausting to feel like your body's not doing what it's supposed to. I know some of the women I've spoken with, including you, have shared how hard it can be to feel like you're out of control of your own health.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shame that can come with it too. Like, why can't I lose weight as easily as others? Or why do I have all this extra hair? Those things really impact self-esteem. I know it took me a while to fully understand that PCOS wasn't my fault. It's not like I could just eat less and exercise more to fix it.
Exactly. And I think the awareness around this is still growing. People think, oh, I have irregular periods, maybe I have PCOS, but a lot of the time, the symptoms can be very subtle or show up differently for everyone. Some women may not have issues with their periods at all but could have other signs like hair thinning, scalp issues, or even insulin resistance.
Yes, insulin resistance is a big one. A lot of women with PCOS actually struggle with it, and that can also increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes down the line. That's why managing blood sugar through diet, exercise, and sometimes medication can be a really important part of treatment.
I'm glad you mentioned the role of lifestyle changes. For a lot of people with PCOS, it's not just about taking medication, it's about making changes to things like diet and exercise to help balance those hormones. What changes have you made, Heather?
Honestly, I've had to be really mindful about my diet. I try to stick to a low index diet to help keep my insulin levels in check. That means eating foods that don't cause blood sugar spikes. So lots of vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. I also focus on exercise, especially strength training, because it can help with insulin resistance and also support weight management.
That's awesome. I know it's not always easy to make those kinds of changes, especially when it feels like your body is fighting against you. But it's empowering to know that taking control of what you can weather through diet, exercise, or even working with a doctor to find the right treatment plan can help make a big difference.
Definitely, and there are a lot of treatment options out there too, from hormonal birth control to help regulate periods, to medications like metformin that help with insulin resistance. If someone is struggling with infertility, there are also medications and procedures that can help them conceive. The thing is, it's really about finding the right plan for each person.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey, and it's one that looks different for everyone. The more you educate yourself and advocate for your own health, the better the experience can be.
And you don't have to do it alone. There are support groups, both online and in person, and tons of resources out there to help people navigate PCOS. Whether it's talking to a doctor you trust, joining a community, or simply reaching out to others who get it, you're not alone.
For sure. So, if you or someone you know is dealing with PCOS, we hope this episode helps you feel a little more informed and empowered. And remember, you are asterisk, not asterisk your symptoms.
Absolutely, and if you're still unsure about what's going on with your body, don't hesitate to get a second opinion or advocate for more answers from your doctor.
Alright, that's it for today's episode of Abled and Disabled. We hope you learned something new today. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And as always, feel free to send us any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes.
Thanks for listening and take care of yourself. See you next time. Stay pink and yellow.